pleasant morning to you out there. The program is The Dailies, where we will be keeping you updated with all that is happening in the papers, especially in regards to the back and forth that Labour is having together with the federal government, where Labour have refused that they are not meeting with the government on Tuesday, stating the fact that they have already said they are going on the strike. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see how this whole event will unfold. I am Selen Lasha Dasham, and I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tansey. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, so you can follow us live there. Drop your comment or contribution on any of the story that is of interest to you. And we'll go straight into the paper where Rachel will take us through the first paper.
On Nigerian Tribune, red line rail to be completed December. Assurance coming from Sanwo-Olu. Insecurity will not stop Imo Kogi governorship election. Another assurance coming from INEC. How state taxes stalled incorporation of standing committees. Statement coming from the speaker. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 6. The big story on the paper: expert forward for governor, advocate clearing of Nigeria's outstanding forward payment, call for establishment of Farmers Bank, multi-stakeholders engagement, one stringent measure to check activities of Bureau de Change. You can find more details on page 6. How my mother killed my father with pistol, 12-year-old son narrate. What a sad story. You can find details on page 28. Reps urge federal government to complete 18-year-old abandoned power project in Ondo State. Kano governor appoints another 94 social media influencers to cover MDAs. Diphtheria outbreak, UNICEF deploys 9.3 million vaccine doses in Nigeria. Importers shun Lagos Ibadan cargo rail over double handling charges, and we have a writer that says issues now resolved. Statement coming from NRC. You can find more details on page 28, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper, starting with the big story on the Punch, where we have Labour faults federal government meeting, insists on indefinite strike with the rider. Any fresh meeting won't stop us. It is going to be mother of all strikes, Labour Union vow. Federal government says new meeting date will be announced. TUC asks the government to account for the subsidy removal savings. You can find detail of this story on page 2. And on debt crisis, stop tax waiver, IMF tells Nigeria. Also, we have Chicago academic record. Atiku plans fresh suit against Tinubu. You can find more of that on page 2. And we've seen Khan governors preach peace and hope at the Eid el-Maulud celebration. We can see picture of the Muslim faithfuls during their celebration. Afenifere accuses Obasanjo of ridiculing the Oba's demand apology. Ondo woman kills husband with pistol and flees. You can find more of that story on page 4. Pipeline repairs go up 35 billion naira in 18 months. Vandalism persists. This is a report. You can find more of that on page 19. And that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On Voice of Liberty, we are seeing a new warning coming from the federal government concerning flooding in 25 states and the FCT. Senate confirmation, CBN new governor Cardoso vows to resist political interference. Khan president congratulates Sultan of Sokoto and Nigerian Muslims. This is on the Eid al-Maulud celebration. The big story on the paper: we will avert labor strike. Federal government reveals Tinubu's plans to announce palliative package for workers. We have an obvious move to avert a total shutdown of economic activities. President Bola Tinubu is to announce a palliative package for Nigeria workers during his Independence Day speech on October 1st. And we're looking forward to not an announcement, but an action, obviously, because the NLC is going on strike because the government failed to take an action. So we don't want an announcement. We want to see an action being taken, and that's what we are hoping for. Still on Voice of Liberty, Tinubu heads to France after attending 78th UNGA in US. Bandits kill 6 in fresh attack on southern Kaduna community. This is a report on insecurity still going on in Kaduna State. Ex-U.S. President Trump found guilty of committing $3.6 billion fraud. Presidency declares NIMASA as best federal MDA in digital transformation. And that's all news on Voice of Liberty.
And on Leadership newspaper, we'll be looking at the stories on the front page where we still have 6 killed in the fresh southern Kaduna attack. And this is really sad, and we hope we are not having a repeat of what has been happening there. So we are calling on the security agency to wake up, rise up to their responsibility, and go down to the root to find out what is actually causing the resurgence again. Still on the leadership, we are having trending INEC decries violence in Imo, Kogi ahead of polls. You can find more detail inside the paper. And on numbers, we have currency outside the bank rises by 90 billion naira. We don't know what they are doing to make sure they have more currency back into the bank, but that's what is happening presently. You can do well to read more of that on page 2. And on the floating naira, importers abandon Tokumbo cars at the seaport, and this is due to the rise in foreign exchange rate. The Nigerian Customs Service on Tuesday said that vehicle importers have abandoned thousands of imported fairly used vehicles at the seaport. So you could do well to read more detail on the front page and on page 7. National Assembly budget has been stagnant for 13 years, coming from the Speaker Abbas. You can find more on page 7 as well. 100 died, 150 injured in Iraqi wedding inferiors. You can find more inside the paper. Also, we have the NAF airstrikes hit terrorist hideouts in Anambra and Imo State. Top debtors battle AMCON over 3.9 trillion naira loan recovery with detail found on page 21. The big story for the paper says as Tinubu return, labor strike, fuel crisis and others beg for attention. With the rider, food prices soar amidst rising inflation. Hardship continues as palliatives delay. President may return today, so we hope that he do come back and then attend to all of these things that are waiting for his attention. And that's all on the Leadership newspaper.
On New Telegraph, Naira stability hope rises as lender woos oil marketers on $3 billion loan. Oil climbs over $96 as tight supply dominates. You can find more details on page 8. National Assembly budget stagnant for 13 years. A statement coming from Abbas. French ambassador leaves Niger after weeks of tension. Biden appoints Osagi Omosogi Chenyenyi, and we have Onwemika of Nigerian descent as advisors. You can find more details on page 26. Trump liable for fraud in New York civil case. Statement coming from a judge. You can find more details of the case on page 4. The big story on New Telegraph, NAV strikes IPOB, ESN's hideouts in Anambra and Imo State. False planned attack says location also house some separatist group weapons and ammunition. Terrorists kill 6 in fresh southern Kaduna attack. More details of the story can be found on page 2 and 30. NULG faults Tinubu's economic policy, says it's hurting masses. And on strike, Nigerian workers have shown enough patience and understanding. A statement coming from Labour Party, from organized labor. Yes, it is a statement coming from Labour Party. You can find more details on page 2. More than 100 killed, 150 injured in wedding blaze tragedy. You can find more details on page 7. UNICEF Nigeria seeks $3.3 million more to combat diphtheria before December. Still on the paper, CONFA participants, Tinubu Shetima governors, bankers should declare assets publicly. Ensure public access to documents, says 10 Nigerians in US, 13 in UK own property worth $200 million. You can find more details on page 3. And at the downside of the paper, we have blue light from screens linked to early puberty. So this is for our parents who give children too much screen time. The child is crying, you hand over the phone to. We are saying that this is dangerous because it can cause early puberty. You can find more details of this study on page 26, and that's all the news on New Telegraph.
Well, Rachel, before we move forward, I think it's important we talk a little about the insecurity that it seems is resurfacing its ugly face again. We're having 6 being attacked in Kaduna, We have that of Zamfara that has even gotten to the point that telco communication has been cut down because of the issue of insecurity. And also we are having the issue of election insecurity, or however we tend to put it, in Anambra and Imo State. And I think it is imperative that we have security agency getting into action to find out what really caused this. Now let us start with the issue of the Imo and Anambra, even though we know that presently there's going to be an election in Kogi also, and in Imo State, by the end of the October, November, we'll be having an election there. And of course, we're seeing that we know Imo is part of those southeast states that we have been seeing quite a number of pockets of attack here and there. Remember, it was the same state where we lost some security agency that were being, hijacked, and then we lost about 6 or so of them there. So I think that rather than folding our arms, I'm just taking this to be one of those things that happen. The earlier we attack it, the better for us, especially in relation to election that is coming up. We remember what happened when we had the election in over 28 states, and then we saw all these pockets of irregularities, and then violence, and then people being harassed because they wanted to exercise their franchise. So I think INEC should not fold its arms. The sister body that is helping it, that security agency, should actually rise up and say who are the people that are perpetrating this violence, and then they should be brought to book. And the issue of Kaduna, I just hope that the government over there will do something. We keep talking about that Kaduna happens to be one of those states that have a number of body of security agency there, yet we keep seeing attack over and over and over and over. And then you begin to ask questions such as what is happening. Are we not having relevant information, intelligence going there to find out who are the people? And then anytime we see an attack, if something is not being done, we see that same community is being attacked again because we neglected certain things that we should have given attention. So I am hoping that this is a call to our security agency. We are aware they are trying their best, but then when we say they are trying, we need them to try harder so that we'll be able to bring to book all of these people that are causing unrest left, right, and center, and making Nigeria to look as if it's a country for terrorists or something. So we do not tolerate violence, we do not tolerate insecurity, and we hope that the government, together with all security agencies, will get their hands on deck and do the right thing that's expected of them to do.
Of course, when it comes to INEC election and all of that, we find ourselves in the position where we just have to keep giving them the benefits of doubt. Like we just have to keep trusting and trusting and trusting, and hoping that despite past records of what was encountered in the general poll and then in the guber elections for most of the states in the country, wouldn't happen again this time around. And just as we said, it is for every other agency, there should be a synergy for growth to take place, or for us to record success when it comes to election is not INEC's responsibility alone. We have other security agencies that are supposed to step in. We have other bodies that are supposed to step in to make sure that nothing goes wrong. And I believe for INEC, it's still their responsibility to make sure that these states have a free and fair election, because everybody's eyes will be on them. We believe that the IRF portal should be able to work also in this state. Let these people feel secured in the hands of INEC, that their vote will be able to count. And concerning security, for our security agents that will be out there helping INEC to make sure that there is security in this state, I believe it's for them to sit down and review how didn't we get it right in the previous state, and then how are we going to get it right in this state? How are we going to make sure that what happened in the past concerning security will not. This is the only way we would know that for sure. We have agencies, we have bodies, we have sectors that are willing to grow and making sure that past mistakes don't happen again. And then for the government of Kaduna, Sele, I'm really looking forward to an administration that would fight insecurity in southern Kaduna, that the governor, the government, everybody who is in charge will wake up and say it's not just for the people in southern Kaduna's business to know what to do, but Kaduna is our Kaduna, and then we'll make sure that every life is protected and every area is taken back to some normalcy when it comes to security and all of that. Until then, I think we will keep seeing this on our papers. It's really sad because whether we like it or not, there's little or nothing that communities can do when we are not permitted to have firearms, when we are not permitted to do certain things when it comes to protection. Then whether we like it or not, the people of Kaduna, each and every one of us, are in the hands of the government of our state, or be it the country. And then we just hope that they do what is expected of them and their duties to us as the citizens.
Truly, I just hope that, just like you said, I would just hope that they address the issue of, because when we keep having violence in these states that are supposed to have election, we'll be handling the issue of voter apathy, where a lot of people will be scared to turn out for the election. So we hope to see more proactive measures. Let's take a look at the next paper, which is Nigerian News Direct, and we will be starting with a big story on Nigerian News Direct as well. October 3rd strike, Labour backs organized labor as anxiety mount. Labour Party backs organized labor as anxiety mount. Says Tinubu government punishing workers for voting their choice at election. You can find detail of that on page 3. And on voter apathy, INEC raises alarm on insecurity and violence in Imo and Kogi State. President Biden appoints 2 Nigerians into Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement. Other stories on the paper: FCT Minister Wike lays off heads of 21 agencies. Sanwo-Olu orders clean up along Lagos Red Line corridor as rail project races to completion. And we have the BPSR Award Namasa as the best federal MDA in digital transformation. And also downside of the paper, we have Nigeria ranked 6th in the world, 2nd in Africa for organized crime. This is really not a story that we want to celebrate. It's really sad that we are being ranked 6th in the world, 2nd in Africa for organized crime. We need to do better than this. In 2021, we're ranked the 3rd most violent country in the world. So right now, I see we are 6th in the world, 2nd in Africa for organized crime. Rachel, this calls for another sitting by the government. We're still talking about one and the same thing. So when we're talking about organized crime, it goes beyond the insecurity we're talking about presently. A lot of crime is going on, and then it seems the government or the leaders are turning a blind eye to all of this thing that is happening. So we think it's high time we do something about all of this illicit crime we're having around, talking about drugs, talking about smuggling of weapons, talking a lot of things are happening, and then it seems as if the people up there are really not doing something. So for it to make it to the paper, it's calls for a concern, and I hope we really address this thing as quick and fast as possible before it gets out of hand.
When it comes to organized crime, there are just 2 things in people's mind: be only terrorism, banditry, or Fulani herdsmen. Or when we talk about organized crime, people just go to drug syndicates and all of that. But even the recent happenings of organ harvesting is an organized crime. Yes, well, for you to run a fake clinic, have doctors coming to work for you to help you harvest people's organs without their consent is an organized crime. Anything that is well planned and executed well is organized crime. And if we look around what is happening, even you entering a taxi and people form fake conversation for you to be a part of it, and then they rob you or they do some kind of things to you,
hypnotized, and you don't really know what happened.
These are all organized crime. So when we look at our system, because you can sit down and wonder, how are we ranking this high in organized crime? But then when you look at it, every little thing that is happening, these are all the things that account for the organized crimes in the country. And then when you sum them up, you realize that truly we have a lot of organized crime happening in Nigeria. No wonder we are topping the ranks when it comes to organized crime. So it's not a good name, and I just hope that the necessary authorities or necessary bodies that will help us fight this, so that our ranking will be low. Maybe we can go to 10.
We don't even
then
want to be on that ranking, Rachel. This is
and
not
then
a
one
ranking.
day we are off the list eventually, because it is a gradual process.
Honestly.
But then I just hope that one day we are not on that list completely.
Yeah, while you were talking, the first crime that came to my mind is the issue of the Yahoo Plus and all that.
Exactly.
Rachel, this is something that is really getting, the numbers are increasing by the day. You really cannot even know which business is legit or not, because everybody
more.
just want to make it.
Exactly,
And then we've
sir.
seen over the years people keep hacking WhatsApp, hacking Facebook,
People's
hacking
account,
all
those
of
are
this
all,
thing
yeah,
just so that they, so a lot is
a
going on, and
lot.
we hope that this is where we need all our sharp and intelligent minds digitally to get into work, and let us see how we can actually
True,
fight
sir.
this. And that is all on Nigerian News Direct.
On Vanguard newspaper, bank customers pay 154 billion naira fee for e-banking services. NNPC $3 billion loan. Afreximbank opens funding talks with oil traders. We have Biden appoints Osagi, Yamasugi, Chinyenye, and Ogumike as advisors. You can find more details on page 25. Insecurity stopping us from opening tourist sites in Niger. This is coming from the government. You can find more details on page 8. The big story, how Labour veterans got NLC TUC to close ranks. NLC TUC each working separate agenda for same purpose. NLC not carrying us along. TUC alleges TUC betrayed our trust. NLC counters, and the veterans of Labour movement intervene. NLC TUC leaders meet, iron out differences, jointly declare strike. Labour Party back strike. You can find all the details of the big story on page 14 and on page 9. And on diphtheria, we will need additional $3.3 million for widespread vaccination in Nigeria. This is a statement coming from UNICEF, despite giving their own 9.9 billion of support. They're saying there's a need for an additional $3.3 million. You can find more details on page 9. Live well, be happy, that calls on us daily. We've seen a reflection in human flourishing in Nigeria. You can find more details on page 15. And we have 3 killed, 9 injured as gunmen kidnappers storm Kwara. You can find more details on page 8. Gas flaring sacks over 27 communities in Imo State. Kwankwaso, a serial contestant. A statement coming from Ganduji. VCs presents report of challenges facing varsities in education. You can find more details on page 9. We have a column on page 16 by Olufasan, and then a sport column, AFCON 2025-2027 hosting rights. This is CAF rejects Nigeria Benin bid. You can find more details on page 31, and that's all the news on Vanguard newspaper.
Well, I hope all these reports have gotten to the decks of the education minister. He'll take all of those things very, very seriously. The issue of kidnapping in our universities, the issue of those in the hostel not having the basic things they need, basic amenities, having the constant light. Just recently I was hearing of a university, federal university, that do not have light there because they have not paid their NEPA bill, so their light has been cut off. So these are not stories that we want to hear. So how do you expect us students to read? And tuition fee has been increased, so quite a lot of things need to be attended. And we've heard where VCs and senior lecturers are coming out to say that when the government saying they shouldn't increase tuition fee, and yet the government is not providing enough allocation to take care of this university, eventually the VCs have no choice than to increase tuition fee because they need to attend to certain things in the school. So when you look at this thing critically, quite a lot needs to be done. So we hope all of this reports and complaints that have been tabled to the education minister, he will sit down and also address all of this so that we'll have a university that students will not come back home looking for when to read all through the night, reading under street lights and all of that. Why? Because you don't have lights in the hostel to read, and this is, you paid for all of this basic things, so you should have it. So I think we look forward to seeing that being done by the education minister. And before we move on now to the next paper, we'd love to take a break, lead you through the story, the back and forth coming from NLC. We're seeing Labour Party supporting them to go on strike, and also we're seeing that even importers of cars have decided to abandon the cars over there because of the flooding of the naira. So quite a lot is happening in Nigeria. When we come back from the break, we will open the phone lines and hear what your own contributions are concerning any of the story that is of interest to you. Please stay tuned with us.
Democracy is the theory that common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. Join me every Friday, 7 p.m. on National Talk for analysis as well as in-depth perspective on issues as they unfold in and around Nigeria, as well as an opportunity to add your voice.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still the dailies. We have been looking at quite a number of stories. Federal government looking for a way to stop the labor strike from taking place on Tuesday. We've seen quite a number of stories back and forth. So we'll hope to hear what your own contribution is. It tends to be attacks concerning Imo and Kogi as elections are close by. We've had attack also in Kwara and Kaduna. So it tends to be like insecurities becoming the order of the day again, but we hope that something will be done about that. So we want to hear what your own contribution is. The number is displayed on your screen. Do well to call us. Remember, turn down the volume of your TV set. We would love to hear what you have to say, and then try to be civil and summarize your point in a minute, so other callers will also have a room to contribute to the stories as well. I still have Rachel with me in the studio. Thanks so much. All right, let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper, starting with a big story where we have federal government consider options to abort labor strike, with the writer following that saying, mulls the court injunction. Man and others urge the government and labor to factor the well-being of Nigerians and avert the strike. Afenifere calls for more consultation, and Tinubu may unveil fresh palliative on October 1st broadcast. So you can look forward to that and read more on page 6. We also have the Nigerian Air Force strike, IPOB and the SEN hideouts in Anambra and Imo. So it tends to be back and forth. We hope something will be done. Do well to find more of that story on page 4. Angry directors petition presidency over alleged the AGF's age falsification and others. The writers say your allegation baseless, say Madden. You can find that on page 25. Ganduje hits Kwankwaso, calls him Syria presidential election loser. You can find more on page 8 as well. We have a call. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Rachel and Sele.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Morning.
Yeah. My sisters. Yes, I want to appreciate your discussion this morning. The discussion is more centered on crime and criminality that we are experiencing in Nigeria. Honestly, in every aspect of the paper you people read this morning, Southern Kaduna issue was discussed. The killing in Southern Kaduna was done in my community, the Etablan. The area is called a park tonight. People were attacked and killed. I wonder where this country is driving us. Is it how we control this country that crime and criminality is allowed to continue and people losing their lives? Innocent people are being killed on their front block, and we have government. Our president to know that before God, all these lives that have been wasted by this terrorist to account for it, because he is the security of the nation. If the nation is not his problem, traveling here and there is what he thinks is the best for him, then there's no problem. But all I know is that before God, we account for all these things. Killing left and right in this country, because Southern Kaduna will sleep with their 2 eyes closed. Now this thing has been suppressed again, and killing in Southern Kaduna, people are being killed again. Where are we going in this country? Is this how we continue? We don't have security in this country with a boundary of forces we are having, own good and credit of the nation. Honestly speaking, we need to get it right. This country needs to get it right. Without prayer, without prayer, God will help us and make this country become the country we need to have. My sister.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. And we hope the relevant authorities are listening and do the right thing.
Yes.
Southern Kaduna has really seen quite a lot, and we're hoping that something will be done. So we don't keep repeating and repeating these stories on the paper. And it looks as if the government is not paying attention to what is happening in that part of the country. Still on the Daily Sun newspaper, we have another story here where we have fire killed 113 at Iraq wedding. Arrest warrant issued for the owners of the wedding hall. You can find more on page 27. Abia plans takeover of Ojukwu Bunker War Museum from the federal government. You can find more of that on page 8. The last story on the paper is bandits sack Niger community established camp and villagers flee. We hope also the government will pay attention to what is happening in Niger State. And that's all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, next Edo governor must respect monarchy. 48 hours rain to pound FCT Edo Kwara 22 states NIMED alert. 2 women arrested with 1,000 rounds of ammunition. Sagamu called killing. DSS moves to unravel masterminds. You can find more details inside the paper. Obasanjo should apologize to monarch, says Afenifere group seeks support for Tinubu. Stock market transactions soar to 2.42 trillion naira. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 5. And we have NAV strike suspected terrorist in Imo State. Gunmen killed 3 in Kwara. The big story on the Nation. Insecurity threatens November 11 governorship polls. Statement coming from INEC. Youths unwilling to work in ad hoc capacity, says National Commissioner. Trump inflated asset value. You can start from the front page and find more details on page 30. French envoy exits Niger Republic. Yaba Ikeja along bridges open for traffic next month. You can find more details of this story on page 27 of the Nation newspaper. And at the downside, we have governors can president orders celebrate Maulud. We have
Hello, good morning. Hello, can you hear us? Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Good morning, Sele and Rachel.
Good morning, sir.
I have been saying that the federal government, that is the present president, should remove police from PECOM because they are doing a dangerous job. And you can hear Tom are dying every day. And you can't put people into suffering under PECOM. How can you be working, you are suffering, then you retire, you are suffering? How can you have the mind to be doing the work well? So they should encourage police so that they can fight terrorism well. Thank you. God bless you all.
All right, thank you. I wish I got your name and where you're calling from, because I think this is a report, or this particular call is something we've been having for like a year plus right now, or even 2 years, where people have been pushing for the fact that the police need to be taken out of that pension, the fact that PENCOM is not really doing the right thing. And we've been advocating, calling on the relevant authorities to actually check which is the better pay for our security agency, because after serving their countries, only expected that what rightly belongs to them should be given to them. So we hope that the relevant authorities will take cognizance of all of this and also do the right thing. Thank you so much for that call. Please.
Yeah, other insurance companies are doing better, and I believe 4 other paramilitary bodies, they have also other better pension insurance company working with them. So I believe that if this is a cry that has been going on for this long, then we're just hoping that it will get to the necessary authority and then something will eventually be done about it. And at the downside of the paper, we are seeing that governors, can president, and others celebrate Maulud Nabi. And you can find more details on page 28, and that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
On this day newspaper, we have Wiki sacked 9 FCTA MDs, ESFCT Primary Health Care Board, and others. More detail can be found on page 14. NIME predict 48 hours heavy rainfall in Bayelsa, Kogi, Anambra, and 22 others. Where we have the right at the other states, we have Katsina, Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, Gombe, Plateau, Borno, Adamawa, Taraba, Kaduna, Niger, Nasarawa, Enugu, Edo, Delta, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Cross. All right. Hello. Good morning.
I want to comment on the labor crisis, the labor issue that is going on with the government.
All right.
I
Go
said
ahead.
the other day
Please.
that our government is not proactive. They are not proactive, and they have not went up till now before they call labor to a meeting. I'm wondering what they want to achieve. I hope that before the 3rd of October, there will be a solution in sight. So please, government should engage labor. Our economy cannot carry any national pride for now. Please, I'm begging the government. And I also heard that our president is traveling again after coming back from the UN summit. Let him sit down and discuss with labor. Let there be a solution before he travels out of the country
Right.
again. That is my humble submission.
All right, sir.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you so much. It's just not like the president is traveling again. He was just on his way coming back. He branched Paris, France to actually attend some things. But from the paper, he will be in the country today. So we hope that this will give him ample time. Just like yesterday, they said Tuesday they will go on strike. And we say there will be enough time, hopefully, for them to address all the issues and then do the right thing. Still on this day newspaper, we're looking at some of the states that will be affected by this flood, and I think, Richard, it's imperative that all of the states take into cognizance. We've been having this alert coming in, periodically on the papers, the fact that all of the states need to take cognizance. And I'm really scared for some of these states that are very vulnerable. The likes of Bauchi, it has been taken. We had that of Plateau where we saw a number of houses were being destroyed in the capital city. And then we also saw quite a number of, states that have actually have a very, very, the rain has really affected it. So we hope that all of the states, the government should do something. If there's a way you can bring these people to a place that is safer, please do that as much as possible. I mean, we've been hearing calls from our loved ones in various parts of the country saying the fact that rain has been there throughout, especially the FCT rain from Tuesday, yesterday, and all of that. So we hope that all the people that are there, knowing that you're living in a lowland, please take cognizance and then move away so the rain don't get to affect you. Still on this day newspaper, the big story on the paper here is on Ganduji telling Kwankwaso will remain serial loser in presidential election, with the rider the Kwankwasia head who wears a red cap is a person who prefers to be a king in hell than be a servant in paradise. He specializes in deceiving people. Well, you can do to read more detail of this back and forth coming from Ganduji and Kwankwaso. We have a picture story. All right, we have a call again. Good morning.
Hello, Sele.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, Sele and Richard.
Good morning.
How is the day going?
Fine.
Yes, on that PECOM issue.
Yes, sir.
I have retired. My salary now supposed to be 100 and something thousand. They are giving me 35,000. How can somebody manage life with that? Now look at it now. If they don't want police to be corrupt, they should do the right thing. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So, Rachel, we're having another concern.
Yes, if someone is supposed to get over 100,000 and is getting 35, it's really bad, and then something should be done about it. I shouldn't work for 35 years. Let's not forget that this is not some money from somewhere. This is money that has been deducted from my income all of these years of service, and now for me to have access to it is a problem. I believe that this should be seen to immediately.
Yeah, Rachel, it breaks my heart because we've been mentioning the paramilitary, which is we have the police right now. But then this is just to open our eyes to what every pensioner is going through, Rachel, that this is the money they're supposed to get, and they're not being paid that exact amount. And even when you get that little money, somebody somewhere want you to pay something before you get that. And this is really hard. This is really, really heartbreaking. With the way a lot of things are happening right now, Rachel, we just hope, just like we said earlier, let the relevant authority, please, we are pleading, do the right thing. All right. And I think we have a picture story on this day newspaper where it's been captioned as "Improve security to boost investors' confidence." This is coming from the national president of the Nigeria Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industrial, Mining and Agriculture, Daily Kelvin, with the Minister of Defense, Alhaji Baduru Mohammed Abubakar, during the Oyo visit to the Defense Minister at the ministry headquarters in Abuja recently. You can do well to grab the paper and read more detail of any of the story that is of interest to you.
On the Guardian newspaper, lacks PIA implementation leaves NNPCL, NUPRC, and MDPRA in disarray. You can find more details on page 6. Diesel may trade near 101,500 naira per litre as oil price spike. You can find more details on page 18. Ondo lawmakers strong court order move to impeach deputy governor. Stakeholders CHRICED because over return of petrol subsidy. Apologize for ridiculing monarchs, Afenifere tells Obasanjo. Woman kills 65-year-old husband with pistol in Ondo State. You can find more details on page 8. And still on the paper, Labour Party back strike as Olumo warns NLC against interfering with NURTW. And that's all the news on the Guardian newspaper.
Let's take a look at what the world of business have for us on the business paper, where we have the big story. Organ theft exposes the cracks in Nigeria's healthcare system. And I think this is a story that everybody should take interest and take a closer look at it and see how we can put our hands together to fight this evil in the country. We have others saying here, what qualifies a private hospital to perform surgery? So this is for everybody. You can read that on page 2. And then why medical quackery thieves in the healthcare? You can also find that answer to that question still on page 2 of the Business Day newspaper. Federal government takes $1.95 billion World Bank loan and ignores debt concern. Stock traders plunge 62% to 4-month low. Nigerian fintech jostle for talent amid the market boom. And there are more troubles as Nigerian passport face devaluation. Richard, this is one of the things we spoke about. When you have that green passport, it seems as if we are not being treated as if we're equal. And this has a lot to do with our system and our government doing something better. And then we as individuals presenting ourselves as better people. So we'll be taken seriously. And not the fact that we keep facing devaluation. And then, I mean, sometimes somebody will ask the question, where can you go with your green passport? It's a question. So we hope that we'll do better when it comes to dealing with issues like that.
We also said that because there are 1,001 factors affecting the devaluation of our green passport. It's all because this green passport is for ECOWAS, and we also have.
All right, let's take this call, which is our last for today. Good morning.
On second. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, how are you? How are you?
We're fine. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Please, I'm commenting on labor.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, please, Labour should consider people. The strike they want to start on 2nd October. They should look at how people masses are passing through. Even the president should look at the masses. Time is coming. Whatever leadership God has given them, they must give accounts. So two of them, the Labour and the president, and the Labour president should consider the masses, what the masses are passing through, and the issue of wealth. Look at how people, the masses are suffering. They still want to increase money. A litre, 1,000 naira. Where are we heading? Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. We just hope, and the strike is for the 3rd of October, not 2nd. And we just hope that the government will step in, intervene, and then, of course, the strike will be dangerous for the economy as it is now, but then let the government of Nigeria do the needful. So, yes, as I was talking about the green card, it's an ECOWAS card. And then one external factor is that we also have this military junta and all of that happening in West Africa as it is. So if we can look at some of the external factor, this is one that devalues that passport also. And then when we come internally, we are seeing ourselves ranking. When it comes to crime, we are seeing the economy, even just our currency is enough to devalue this card, because it clearly shows that we are coming from an economy that is devaluing, that is not thriving, and then development is not much and all of that. And then the world entirely is seeing that our debt profile is extremely high. We have been on a borrowing spree for a very long period of time. So we have just so much on our plate that until it is fixed, we will keep seeing this card devaluing on so many levels.
Well, I hope with all of these factors you've rightly mentioned, Richard, I hope that the government will begin to take cognizance. If we are borrowing, let us see that we are actually investing this money to something that will fetch us profit, not just eating it, and then we really cannot give give account of what actually we did with that. And I think that's all on the business. Let's quickly take the sport paper and round up.
All right. On Sporting Sun, Kane Haaland beating to #1 spot. Real Madrid shortlists Zabi as Ancelotti's replacement. You can find more details on page 3. Sergio Ramos, Sevilla house robbed. You can find more details on the back page. And we have the World Cup key scandal. Spanish court exclude ex-women's soccer coach in Rubel's probe. And we have Man United plans new contract talks with Ten Hag. You can find more details on page 2. The big story is Osimhen ready for war with Napoli. Plans legal action against club. Deletes club's image from Instagram. Ignores teammates arriving at team's hotel. You can find more details on page 6. Messi to help Liverpool hit £35 million jackpot. Arsenal Chelsea ready player plus cash deal to Tony. We have Samuel Umtiti hospitalized with concussion. Man City keen over Victor Boniface. You can find more details on page 6. And we have Moses Simon better than Mbappe and Sterling. What made that statement, or whoever, and his reason behind such analysis. You can find more details on page 6. And we have AFCON 2025 Nigeria withdraws as Morocco wins bid. You can find more details on page 6. And at the downside of the paper, we have Alcaraz says #1 spot main goal ahead of Beijing debut. You can find details at the back page. And that's all the news on Sporting Sun newspaper.
Well, thanks so much, Rachel, for doing this with me. Thank you to all our callers for calling on the program today. We're truly grateful for your contribution. Thank you to the supporters. Thank you also to our crew members for making sure we are prompt on air. Until we come here again tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.